Welcome back to another episode of Solid Concrete, where I give you crazy stories on construction, the things that I've been through, and the things that I've heard, seen. Let's get into it. So, today I'm going to talk about how the first construction company I worked for and how they actually got into business. And you might think, oh, that's nothing. What they do, get a loan, go to the bank, and start their own company? Did they have money gifted to them, loaned to them by a family friend or investor? Nah. So the company I used to work for, they were based out of Miami. Now, for obvious reasons, I'm not going to put their name out there because for all I know, they're still in business or they may come across this video and sue my ass. So we'll start with that. Right, so this construction company rather, started with a few owners. I won't give an exact number, but it was a few. Now, for those who don't have a fucking brain, a few means more than three. Three or more, rather, right? All right. So, these guys, prior to them starting their own construction company, they worked construction. They worked, marine construction, driving piles, building seawalls, the whole deal. The same shit I started doing when I started working with them, right? So they had some experience. But, so they took that experience and figured, you know what, let's start a construction company. Okay, now mind you, this is back in the 80s where shit was loose. These guys were loose. These guys, did some partying. And down in Miami, there was a bunch of that going down there, right? So everyone either nickeled and dabbled or they sold it. Now, talking to the people when I got hired, this story came out months later, and this came from pretty good sources that were personal friends with these guys. So it comes out that apparently, allegedly, they went to their coke dealer and said, if you give us 100,000, 150 around that to start our company, we'll give you points on that. We'll give you interest. We'll pay you back. So, okay. So sure enough, apparently the guy lending them the money, gave them 100 grand. Let's just say 100 grand. And then they took that money, and I'm sure they still kept going to them for their coke because a lot of these guys, they had a habit. And back then it was normal. It was like drinking fucking water or having a cigarette. Like, oh, you don't do coke? Oh, you don't, So that was down in Miami, and that was the demographics. A lot of these guys did their thing doing that. So cool. They got the loan, and then they started doing jobs, doing their thing, and then boom, the crackdown in Miami happens where a bunch of guys are getting locked up for this coke stuff. And sure enough, their guy actually got locked up. And according to the story, he either did life or, whatever, was old enough to where he wasn't getting back out. He would die in jail. And, bro, they never had to pay that back. How crazy is that? You get a loan, not from the bank, not from a family friend or business partner, but a coke dealer that chances are if he did get out, he probably would be looking for that money back. But rumor has it he never got out and never requested his money back, because how could you, right? Hey guys, that $100,000 that I made off of coke, whatever, that I lent you? Yeah, I'd like that back. Go to the cop, go to the FBI, go to whoever you got to complain to and tell them that, yeah, you see that company right there? They started off of my loan. Okay. Nah, not going to happen, man. Not going to happen. So you'd be surprised how some of these companies begin. And back in the 80s in Miami, if you know the story, if you haven't been living under a rock, then you know that Miami was essentially built on coke money. A lot of it was. South Florida was just a place to retire. And then these dudes came in and then flooded the gates. And that's what happened, man. A lot of these construction companies, I would say a lot, if not most, down in Miami started out this way. Loan sharking, coke, whatever. Whether you sold it or borrowed it, a lot of it got started that way. And some of y'all be thinking, man, that's crazy. How could that be? Well, that's what life is back then. That's what life was back then. And sure enough, they got lucky, because fast forward 20, 30 years later, they're still in business and they've made millions of dollars. Millions. Trust me on that. So I think that, to them, that was a beautiful thing. To the guy who lent it out, he's sitting in prison thinking, fuck my life. And then to the point where he probably lent out so much money, he probably forgot. But who knows if he ever got out. As far as I know, he never got out and was never heard from again. And there it is, man. The company that I worked for almost 10 years got started off of coke money. And it wouldn't surprise me if some of the guys that worked for the construction company still maybe did that business, And like I said, it is what it is. That's what life was. And that's where I started, man. And those guys, those owners, were still in business, still doing their thing. Apparently one of them developed a coke habit, but that's another day's story, right? So I appreciate you tuning in. We're going to keep these videos kind of short and sweet, so that way you got a long day ahead of yourself. So again, I appreciate you tuning in. Always remember, stay solid.